Fender Jaguar, one of the coolest, but probably most misunderstood instruments out there from Leo. So stay tuned, we're talking about 3 superbly vintage and superbly awesome Jags right here. Hey, it's me, Baxter.
And it's me, Sean.
Here at Casino Guitars. Don't forget to click like and subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Follow us on this adventure together.
That's right. On the road to 100,000.
Yeah, we're doing that.
That's right. We're doing some cool new giveaways. And stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll talk more about that at the end of the video.
I know.
So you gotta stay to the end. Get some free stuff. So we're having a Jag off here together.
Yeah, we are.
We're talking about...
Just 2 bros jagging off.
Talking about Jaguars. Fender Jaguars.
Right.
Our favorite guitar. It's one of my favorite guitars that Fender makes. And I did not like this guitar for a long time. Yeah. It's a weird guitar.
It is a weird guitar.
So we're gonna talk briefly about it, the history of it. Maybe dig into a few little vintage pieces that we think are scrumptious. So you gotta stay tuned for that too. I don't even know what that was.
It's me digging on the Jags. Digging into the Jag off, if you will.
Introduced in the year of the Lord, 1962, the Fender Jaguar came out at the apex, beginning and dawn of surf rock and roll music. This guitar was the Cadillac of the Fender line. Chrome galore. This is one of the offset gems that Leo thought was going to take the world by storm. It didn't.
No.
Spoiler alert. It did not really.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's a cool instrument. It lasted until 1975 before being discontinued.
Yeah.
So it had a short lifespan, like sort of a 13-year period. But let's talk about some of the features that make the Jaguar unique.
Yeah.
Offset body.
Absolutely.
Shorter scale. It's got the unique switching, which we'll dig into in a little bit. Very unique, right?
Very unique, but very cool. I like it. Go ahead.
You've got the lead and rhythm circuit like in the Jazzmaster. You've got the high pass filter, or what they call the strangle switch, which I think is really cool. That allows for the higher frequencies to sort of pass through, but attenuates the lower frequencies.
It's pretty cool.
It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
I like to play with it all the time.
I like that they call it the strangle switch.
I like that that was not what it was called, and that's what it became called.
I know. Like as a society, we were like, strangle switch.
Or the Brits calling the tremolo or the whammy the wiggle stick.
That's perfect. That's what it should be called.
It should be.
Always.
It had the string mute. That's a new feature for the Jaguar. It's got chrome galore. The bridge and the threaded saddles doesn't really work so well in this. You're going to see some modifications in some of these Jaguars that pop up, the vintage ones. So stay tuned for that. And we'll sort of talk about the history of it as we get into it. But right now, without further ado, let's get into guitars. Guitar number 1, Fender Jaguar, 1963.
That's right. Not a factory black finish. It is a refin, but it is a good refin in my opinion. I really like that a lot. As you can see on camera there, I'm trying to give you a good shot of the glossiness of the finish. It's nice.
Now this is a new addition to the family.
This is, I think, Mr. D Money Lovebone, Derek Numbers, behind the camera, sought this guitar out and worked out a really cool trade on it, and it's pretty phenomenal. I'm impressed with it.
It is phenomenal. Now, it's something you got to get used to with it. Is the 24-inch scale, and the little trick with these is too, it's got 22 frets, so it's even it confuses your brain even further. But this one's a great neck. Great neck. All of, besides the refin, we're pretty much original thing here. We got an original case, not original guitar, but mid-60s, we think. Yeah. Now, some of you notice on this girl, you got the dot inlays, clay dots. We're going to switch over to perloid later on. And we don't get to the block inlays until, I think, mid-66.
Yep.
So that starts to lay out. But this is being a 63. We don't have the birth year. But these, a sunburst one of these you're going to see in Reverb now and across the other selling platforms are being asked for around $7,500 to $8,200 right now.
Yep.
Refin's going to make it worth a little bit less. But I've played a lot of mint perfect pieces that aren't as inspiring as this guitar.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this one, for a refin, and I think that's kind of one of those stigma things, in the same way a refret is. People immediately ask, has it been refretted, has it been changed, has it been refinished, all that stuff. Sometimes that might be a good thing, because this black finish looks great. You know, we didn't know if it was going to at first, but seeing it in person is
I think it's really cool. And like we were talking about, oh, maybe we can get it refinned by one of our finishing experts. And I was like, I would not even touch it.
I wouldn't either because it looks great. I think it plays and sounds great too. Even better than a lot of the mint ones, like you're saying.
Yes.
Which I think guides us into the next one. What do you think?
What's unique about these guitars too, like we talked about already, is the rhythm circuit up here. What's cool about all three that we have, they're completely functioning. I love it. The reissues take these away a lot of times in the Fender dialogue. Is these went dormant again until 1975. They didn't come out again until I believe the Japanese reissues in the late 80s, mid 80s, and then 1999 was the first time USA Fender Production made a Jaguar again.
Which is
nuts.
It's crazy, right?
And like, because these really, surf rock happened for a short time, and then it kind of fell out of favor. But it was the indie rockers and grunge, and like sort of noise rock that sort of made this.
Bands like Sonic Youth to Johnny Marr and stuff like that, kind of bringing them back into favor.
Marr.
Johnny freaking Marr.
One of our favorite guitarists.
Love Johnny Marr.
Grab that other guitar.
I will.
Move on. Let's go to 1964. One year that some consider in Fender perhaps the greatest year of Fender production. This guitar is what we call mint in the business.
I mean, it is about as mint as it gets.
It's got one little ding back here, like one little scuff right there.
That's right.
That's the one spot. Like that's it. And maybe a little scratch from someone's butt.
Scratch.
This is mint. This is a pure closet classic, but it's not a custom shop. This is an original.
This is probably the most mint vintage guitar I've ever played, to the extent that the neck, whenever we got this in, still had a little bit of that tackiness to the lacquer.
It still has it today.
It's weird. It's insane.
Now, Sean went and took this thing and set her up. Now, you're notice again, I'll talk about setup in a minute. We got the clay dots still here, so that's you get the transition that happens later in the 64 and 65s, and when the transitions of that starts to happen. But this being a 64, we got it all, taking it apart, obviously. Everything's not changed in here. Something else you're going to notice are these little brackets down here. So it's got the narrow, taller pickups like a Stratocaster, but it's got these metal brackets here. It's not just for looks. It's only on one other guitar in Fender's history, too. Does anybody out there know what it is? It's like a Nickelodeon show. And the answer is the Bass 6.
Bingo.
That's the only one that has that. So the idea was just to reduce the hum and concentrated the magnetic field beneath the strings. So a higher output, less hum is the idea. And I didn't understand how awesome these pickups sounded until I dug into them further.
Well, and being able to play all three of these, what I've begun to really love is the neck sound, because it is really meaty, and that makes sense.
That's what I live on. That's the setting of what I live on the Jaguar. I think I was telling Zach last night. Zach's off camera. He doesn't exist. He's my imaginary friend. But I was telling Zach that I look at this how I look at my amp settings, and where I set my amp settings. I don't have a pedal board. A Jaguar, I plug it in. That's pretty much all I use. Yeah. And it's a fire and forget guitar for me. This is my effect knob.
It's a good sound.
It's cool.
It's good. I also wanted to point out, too, this is just a funny thing out of Fender's history. With the Telecaster, they have your electronics where you can pull them out onto the side and work on it. Well, then they go to the Stratocaster, and it's all mounted to the pickguard. And you can't get away from that. Well, with the Jazzmaster and the Jaguar, added on these control plates that, back to Leo Fender's kind of prime purpose with a lot of guitars, prime workability. If something goes wrong, you need to be able to fix it. All this stuff can come off away from the pickguard.
And now, don't get me wrong, it's a confusing guitar for the faint of heart when you first see it. This is not the guitar I suggest as your first guitar. But I don't know, if it was, that'd be pretty badass.
It would be. It'd be pretty
now this has the classic sort of Target style sunburst, which that's what it's a lot more orange. It's a richer orange than what you see in some of the previous years. Right. But beautiful, going in that sort of light yellow blonde almost. Gorgeous example. Sorry about the fingerprints. We've been playing these all night and all day. Right. It's fun.
They're incredible.
Next victim. 1965.
This one might look the coolest in my opinion.
This one's my sort of personal favorite in some ways. Olympic white, dirty as hell.
Aged up. Checking everywhere.
Now, something's funny about this. In that sort of year, they did, now you're going to know something else. Our dots have changed. We're now in the perloid. We've got binding on the neck, so it denotes a little bit later in that sort of cycle of that year. Different serial numbers on the neck plate.
With the F logo as well.
If it was groovy. This color's a fun one. When you get the Olympic white, it does turn yellow. Now they had another one that was more of a transparent white. That would have been the only Jaguars with, like, you know, in the sunburst sometimes with the ash. This is not. This is gonna be an alder body for sure.
Yes.
Which is it's just neat. So you have some that look like this that actually do have the ash body, but it's not the Olympic white color.
Yeah.
It's a little misnomer in the history of Fender.
That's right.
Now this one has been played.
Matching head cap too, by the way. Sorry, that just looks sick. I looked at it, I was like, wait a second, there's
That's
more
one of the
cool
things
stuff.
that happens later, and it's like, you know, so this is like we're getting closer. We're getting to block inlays, a la Troy Van Leeuwen and his weird Jazzmasters.
How do you feel about block inlays?
I mean, I think they're beautiful. I don't like them all the time just because I when they start having issues, like the older vintage ones, they start to pop up a bit. You can feel it.
Yeah, that's my only knock on them. I don't really care for them.
I like more wood.
Hey, that's right.
I have a 355 that has the block inlays. I'm totally happy with it. It's beautiful. I almost prefer a 335, but I like the 345 is my favorite with those.
Yeah.
Those Hex boys.
They're good.
They're cool looking. Like,
Nuts.
that's awesome.
Anyways, Jag-Off world.
Now this one, now it's fun too, is like the necks are supposed to all be the same. They're not the same. There's a little
Slight differences.
This one's pretty chunky.
Yeah, especially up here, like 1 to 5, I feel like it's chunkier than both of those. And then probably the narrowest neck is the 64.
Yes.
Which is funny. You know, you're talking about 3 years. They should all be the same, right? How much could change in that amount of time?
Depends who was working on it that day, who was operating the machine, then who was sanding, and who was...
That's right.
Now,
Something else I noticed, the cut into the headstock on all these is slightly different, which is kind of cool to notice right here in the loop. And you can kind of take your finger and run through them, and you feel that. I was like, oh, wow, that's cool.
No, I love this color. Any custom color Jaguars or Jazzmasters you have out there, they're going to have a higher value. It's just what, you know, sunburst is the standard. When you start getting, this is a pretty common custom color.
Yeah.
You know, if you have the Fiesta Red, that's even a little bit more rare. Or you have any of the blues.
Yeah.
You're living in rarefied air. If you got the sparkles, we've seen some of the glitters. We helped a gentleman find a bunch of his lost guitars. Check out the video. It's in our past.
Robbie Z's collection. You might be able to find it looking that up.
The largest collection of vintage guitars probably stolen
Ever.
And we've helped him recover a bunch, which is awesome. He had all these crazy colors.
Yeah.
He should send one our way so we can play with it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because we like Jaguars. That's our favorite thing.
Offsets of any kind, really.
No, Tom.
Yeah.
This is rad. So, I mean, that's sort of the vintage in a nutshell. Again, now, one thing I mentioned earlier, the bridge. This one's bridge has been modded out to a bridge that's functional and works and is usable. Now, I recommend if you have a Jazzmaster Jaguar, especially if you're building a custom shop, don't feel like you got to go pure vintage. Do the mod. Do them. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, well the mastery swap out stuff's great for these. You know, our good friend
The
Carlos
RSD type
Lopez.
style.
RSD style's great too. That's Fender custom shop styled. You can't really go wrong with either one of those. Anything like that just bumps.
You can go wrong with the original bridge because the string always wants to slip out.
Yes.
It's notorious for that.
Well, and I was going to point out something with these as well. This goes back to just the functionality and the design. They did try and think through this to the best of their ability. So I noticed this while working on these the other night, which I probably should have noticed sooner. The thread count on the saddle pieces are different per string, which is cool. So it's meant to actually saddle that string better, right? So these have a thicker space in between the threads, so the string actually rides on there. But once again, it doesn't hold really at all.
No,
because the moment that I go to
if you're
push it,
bending a lot, there's some issues. It leads to string breaking sometimes. So that's just part of the charm of vintage instruments.
well, and also I think part of the charm of a Jaguar, right? Like a 24-inch scaling, it's not meant for crazy bends, really. I don't think.
Well, and then in this tremolo system, this is what Leo Fender thought would replace and become the dominant trem system, which because it has a little bit, it stays in tune better, it intonates better, it has a little bit more up and down. You know, with the trem, you really just is standard Strat when you really got the great dives. It's hard to come up because you got that boom. This has ability. The problem is it doesn't have as much flexibility, but I love these. I think they're great. You can turn it off.
Well, that's the other thing, right? You can lock this, and also what is cool about it, if you think about a Strat trim system and setting it up, this is almost foolproof. You can set this up without changing anything and not even matter
when you
with
change
the bridge.
on your Strat, it's a thing sometimes.
Absolutely.
You get the screwdriver out and you're screwing in.
Well, and you're working with a teeter-totter. You know, you don't know which way it's going to go until you put the weight in the right area. This is going to stay the same, and you can even lock it down when you take the strings off.
The problem is the wiggle stick isn't as wiggly.
It isn't as wiggly, it's true. It's more like
some people. It's got more. It lives more in the Gretsch world.
Yes.
As far as its range, a little bit better.
Yeah.
But
that's very astute. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm an astute human.
He's an astute human being.
So I hope you enjoyed our rundown vintage lane.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us. And what Sean mentioned earlier in this video, we were talking about a road to 100,000. We're giving away free guitars, amps, pedals, micro amps, strings. I'd say, but we're not. We're gonna give away better things than strings. It'd be tons of stuff plus strings. But all you have to do is click like, subscribe,
hit the bell,
tune into the videos we talk about on those things, comment, and that's how the winner's selected randomly from that comment pool. And we give away all these at the usually first of the month on our live streams every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's right. And if you just tune into those live streams, we'll keep you updated if you missed the video to know what that prize was.
Yes.
And you got the whole month to go and leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those good things.
Yeah, first come, first serve doesn't always win.
That's right.
It might be it's awesome. It's fun. We're enjoying it a lot too. It's going on for a whole year.
Yep, we're having fun.
Gosh. So anyway, all you Jagoffs out there, enjoy the day. Have fun. Enjoy your Jaguar. We'll be seeing you soon. Peace be with you.
Thank you.